Chapter 38, Right-Hand Man. Did you need to become that aggressive? Deng Wu asked worriedly. He was the only one of all the friends who knew about Hui Yu's third high-ranked skill. Seeing how Hui Yu so blatantly had shown it off had shocked Deng Wu severely. Don't worry, Hui Yu said with a small smile, as they moved towards the canteen for their free lunch. I still have some secrets hidden if I need to win. You aren't planning on using, well, him, right? Deng Wu had a perfect reason to be worried about this. If Hui Yu were to unleash Lin Feng's powers, then it would be very hard to keep his identity as Li Fin a secret. However, Hui Yu just laughed at his worried friend. I have more options than that, don't worry, he assured his friend. What are the two of you talking about? Rong Ming asked curiously, but neither Hui Yu nor Deng Wu answered the question and just smiled at each other. Back at the mountaintop, the new fight had yet to commence, as a small break had been given. Even the teachers were standing together in clusters, discussing the student who just displayed 3 high-ranked martial arts skills. The same discussion was ongoing between the audience, and multiple families had left their seats to discuss with other families as to what their theories of the unrecognized genius background were. The entire fight had been recorded by the judge and was already spreading to the different teachers, and eventually the school decided to sell the recording to the visitors. Every major family purchased at least one version of the recordings that had been made of this fight. The main reason was not because they admired Hui Yu, but because he had performed 3 high-ranked martial arts skills. It was possible for others to maybe create their own if they managed to analyze and understand the martial arts skill, then they could create a skill in half the time they would usually need. Hui Yu would have laughed if he knew that these hopeful men were wishing to learn or create a high-ranked skill by looking at him in a recording. Hui Yu had spent years upon years of practice to be able to perfect the skills he had used. Chi guard and velocity flow was impossible to understand, and transforming weapons would be a lot harder, as it had so many possible weapons to use that the one weapon he had used did not show enough material to get an idea of the basics. Half an hour passed by like this before the academy continued to the next group's fight. Everyone sat down, eager to see which kind of fight would be brought to them. Unfortunately, it would be hard to be more interesting than the previous fight, and various figures were still discussing it up at the seated areas. On another mountain, Hui Yu was seated down with his friends, calmly eating his dinner before the lot of them needed to return. There were still 2 battles which would prove whether Jia Yan and Rong Ming could follow suit and rank as one of the top 8 participants. I never knew you had yet another high-ranked martial arts skill, Rong Ming said with an admiring voice, albeit jealous. The Rong family possessed in total 2 high-ranked martial arts skills, however, Rong Ming had not qualified to learn either of them. Despite being Hui Yu's friend, Rong Ming could not help but become jealous of Hui Yu. At the same time he also became suspicious. Rong Ming was Hui Yu's first friend and the two of them had known each other for so long, yet now Hui Yu no longer seemed anything like the sweet and naive boy whom he had known for so many years. Does he perhaps have a teacher? Rong Ming asked, incredibly curious about Hui Yu's newfound secrets. Rong Xing had learned one of the high-ranked skills from within the city lord's mansion, and this was the one which had caused the various wounds on her previous opponent. During the academy tournament it was against the rules to use weapons. That being said, any weapons created from chi did not count as they were ranked as a martial art attack skill. Rong Xing had learned the family's high duke ranked martial art attack skill called flying chi daggers. What it did was quite similar to transforming weapons, although not as flexible. It would create a number of small daggers, which then were shot towards the opponent. These daggers could not be controlled individually but worked as a barrage, and after each barrage the cultivator needed to recreate another set of daggers. Unlike transforming weapons, it was not possible for the flying chi daggers to create another type of weapon, just as it was impossible for Rong Xing to use the daggers as close combat weapons. Nevertheless, even while considering such flaws, this was a mean technique with the capability of unleashing an immense amount of damage upon the target, almost guaranteed to kill anyone inferior with one swarm of daggers, and seriously hurt others of the same rank as Rong Xing herself. It was also due to this ability that Hui Yu, and the others, assumed that if Rong Xing was to go all out, she could easily be the strongest student in Riluo City's Royal Academy. That being the case, if no one was counting Deng Wu. Looking out the window, Hui Yu noticed how every student and adult nearby were glancing towards him. He had previously used high-ranked martial skills, although never in such a pushy way as today. It was no longer possible for him to be the naive and relaxed boy he had always been in the future. It was time to fully embrace this new world and fight to defend his place within it. Firstly, Hui Yu started to consider who were his friends and who weren't. By going all out in front of such a large audience, it was obvious that some high-ranked experts would have sensed that something was amiss. Despite not knowing what it was that was amiss, Hui Yu still felt the danger lingering around every corner. Hui Yu had mastered at least 3 high-ranked martial arts skills, and soon he would be flooded with offers to buy them or threats to hand them over. While thinking about such things, a flash of ice cold rushed through his eyes. Although Hui Yu's friends had quite a few connections, it was about time for him to start consider ways to keep himself safe. Right now he could think of one way where he could call in some favors and stall the minor families. For some reason, however, Hui Yu could not shake the feeling that there was something uncomfortable about Lord Zhongliang. This feeling had nothing to back it up, but every time Hui Yu saw the man, his hair stood on ends and a feeling of dread washed over him. Hui Yu knew that both Lord Zhongliang and Lord Bu Huang had previously used their cultivation base as a way to screen Hui Yu's body for abnormalities. Although they clearly have not found Lanfeng, it was also obvious that they did find something, but nevertheless, neither of them asked questions. Lord Zhongliang had always done his utmost to seem like a perfect person, even going as far as to erase Hui Yu's past, but the feeling of danger still remained buried deep within Hui Yu's heart, as he could not shake it off. This constant sense of danger had caused Hui Yu to be careful about his secrets. What Hui Yu had learned in this world was that strength determined everything, and Deng Wu already made sure that he understood how dangerous information could be. This made Hui Yu feel slightly guilty. He would prefer if he could tell the wrong twins, Ma Kong and Jia Yan, about his secret, but for now he had to keep it hidden. If Hui Yu were to let go of his secret, it was likely that someone would start expecting something different from Deng Wu as well. You really live up to the nickname they gave you, Jia Yan sighed, as he looked at the relaxed Hui Yu, causing the younger boy to raise an eyebrow in surprise. Nickname? He said laughingly. He had seen that Jia Yan previously had spoken with some of the commoner students, and while they spoke, glances were thrown his way. Hui Yu had expected to get attention due to his glamorous show, but he had not expected to get a nickname. In a way, it made him feel like a pro wrestler from his old world, and the thought made him slightly hesitant. His eyes no longer held the childish innocence his had been displaying for the last 10 years, instead they were sharp and cold, observing everything around him. It is about time to return, Hui Yu said, and the others instantly stood up, following Hui Yu back towards the mountain peak. Although Hui Yu was by far the youngest in their group, it was as if he seemed older than the others, and they would all listen to him, following his suggestions easily. Even the hard-to-deal-with Deng Wu followed anything Hui Yu said. Returning to the mountaintop, Hui Yu's small group caused a great uproar. One person from each family wished to greet him and gift him great valuables in hopes of reeling him in, but no matter what they brought, Hui Yu respectfully declined, showing the maturity he previously had tried to hide. Walking towards the arena took longer than expected, as Hui Yu had to stop every few steps and greet people he had never seen before. Although he had no idea to whom these families belonged, Hui Yu still showed great respect as they treated him well. Being arrogant could easily court unnecessary trouble. Finally, they reached their destination, and this time it was Jiao Yan's turn to fight for the position within the top 8. You have got to be kidding me, Jiao Yan sighed as he looked at the person in front of him who had a brilliant grin showing on his face. Jiao Yan had not spent any time considering who his opponent would be. From the very start he had said that he would only care about winning and nothing else. This had also caused Jiao Yan to not spare a glance at the poster which revealed who fought and when. After having exhibited such arrogance, it was obvious that shock filled him when he noticed that Chang Chantin was standing in front of him. Hey boss, the grinning young man cordially said, as he strode to the top of the platform. I'm sorry boss, but I have to fight you today. Those pills will really make the world of a difference for my parents. Hearing this made a wry smile appear on Jiao Yan's face. He was in the exact same position. He nodded his head solemnly before finally returning the greeting. If you hold back on me, I will be very mad at you, he said with a sigh as he got into position. Hui Yu looked intently at the fight which was about to break out. To fight one's friends would usually result in a real spar rather than a frantic battle, and by watching a real spar, one could gain a deeper understanding of their own abilities. Receive this blow of mine, Jiao Yan said as he shot forward like a cannonball, straight towards his friend who decided to try and take it on. Bring it on, was the answer which was returned to him, the smile still playing on the Chang Chantin's face. White chi with a faint hint of gray could be seen covering the arms of Chang Chantin. His shit-eating grin had been replaced by a serious expression, as he steeled himself for the initial impact. As Jiao Yan moved forward, Chang Chantin also leaned forward to accept the hit quicker, causing Hui Yu to shake his head. With this, he was currently ensuring that the attack from Jiao Yan would inflict more pain than if he had jumped back as the hit had connected, using the force given by Jiao Yan to decrease the damage incurred. It seemed as if Chang Chantin had understood his mistake as his teeth gritted together and Jiao Yan moved back again. Unlike a usual fight, Jiao Yan did not take advantage of the moment of pain in his opponent. Instead he waited until the other was ready before he took a defensive stance. "Give me everything you got," Jiayan said, and his friend did not need to hear this more than once before he gathered all his gray shining chi around his fists. Both the quantity and quality of the young man's chi were quite equal. The chi which had gathered on Chang Chantin's hands condensed and solidified, covering only his knuckles, turning into a spike on each knuckle. A shiver ran down Jiayan's spine as he saw the martial attack skill which his friend was using. However, he knew that he should not avoid it. He had to take it head on. A grin started spreading across his face and a beckoning gesture was made toward Chang Chantin. This was going to be one exchange of blows after another until one of the two had to give up. Years back the two of them had run down the dirty streets in Ruo City together, glancing in through the windows of shops and seen the legendary cultivators walk the street. When the martial arts school project started the two of them enrolled together, and throughout the entire time at the Ruo City's Royal Academy, Chang Chantin had obviously become Jiayan's right-hand man. This was the first time that Chang Chantin and Jiayan had the chance to fight all out against each other.